Hello, everybody. Before we begin, I just wanted to thank channel sponsor Dice Nest. If you go to dicenest.com and use promo code MANDICE alone, you can get 20% off your entire order. Just think about that for a second. 30 bucks, 20%? That's $6. I don't know what it is in your localized currency, but I'm sure it's similarly amazing. All Dice Nest dice, I figured this out myself, are based on the principle, the concept of luck. You can get yourself a set of beautifully crafted dice. For example, 'Tis the Season. That's not the right phrase. For Whispers of Falling Maple, their latest series, which is a set of maple leaf dice. This is a unique and exquisite collectible. 10 types of natural gemstones and semi-precious stones. You have blue sandstone there, obsidian, natural crystal, cat's eye, and each of them are engraved with the artistry of skilled craftsmen, exceptionally, with the count represented by the shape of maple leaves. And to be perfectly honest with you, they are pretty incredible how they pulled this off. The dice here in my hand, as usual from Dice Nest, feel extremely precious, valuable. They're nice and heavy, but also the engraving in gold leaf here, they did an amazing job of still being able to see the numbers, which is, you know, like what it's really all about. So grab yourself a set of these dice or any dice by using promo code MANDICE alone for 20% off. That's dicenest.com. MANDICE alone for 20% off. Folks, what do you say we, get this party going? Folks, Rascal Flat once said, "God bless the broken road that brought you to me, to Vaesen." Before you see the Vaesen asterisk starter set. The asterisk is because I know the proper way to say it is that Scandinavian way where you sort of like pinch the word back, like Vaesen. But I'm not going to be able to sustain that through the whole video, nor am I even going to stick the landing once. So please pardon my Midwestern tongue. But right here is the Vaesen starter set. And it was about 4 or 5 days ago that I arrived home with a package on my stoop from Free League. And I'm always happy to see stuff from Free League, but I had no idea what it was. And the reason I had no idea what it was is because it was a Kickstarter from a while ago. And this Kickstarter that included this starter set was part of a larger Kickstarter that actually had 2 supplements that I was able to resist for the Kickstarter. I'm trying to be more intentional. I'm trying to think through those Kickstarters, to make sure that it's something, it's like, this is something that I'm either really passionate about. There's some sort of bonus in here that I am a fan about this, and I would love that bonus. I want this, the day one thing actually is not, maybe for Free League it is, but more and more I've been kickstarting stuff and then just seeing it in the store for weeks before my copy comes. And so that's actually been helpful. Anyways, I digress. This starter set had 2 supplements, Mythic Carpathia and City of My Nightmares, that compared to other Vaesen supplements, these were 2 that I was actually tempted to get in physical form. And the other one's a PDF suffice, because most of the supplements so far, they've been very beautiful, like all Vaesen stuff. They have the art by Johan Egerkrans, and but they've been mostly setting and adventures. And as a solo player, I don't get as much mileage out of those, or at least the sort of inputs or ideas that I can get from them, I can get just from reading the PDF. But Mythic Carpathia and City of My Nightmares, and actually, yeah, we could bring this up. Yeah, so this was a Kickstarter. There's no late pledges, but it should be in retail soon. This Mythic Carpathia, first of all, both of the covers of these look awesome. This one is like, Vlad Dracul, and it's got vampires, and then this City of My Nightmares, I think, is the one with Baba Yaga. But it has a new archetype that looks awesome. And archetypes, that's Eleanor. Eleanor is one of the best YouTube personalities possible. You should definitely watch. She's the host of all the Free League videos. Ooh, those prints are gorgeous. So yeah, this one, it has this archetype that they haven't really given new archetypes, as far as I can recall, in my supplement. In the supplements they've released so far. But this one has this Vaesen. Look at this Dampier. How awesome does this look? Half vampire, reminds me of Dracula, Vampire Hunter D. This dude, Nachzercher. I don't know what this guy is. Coca Yoroka. Isn't that the Chocobos from... Anyways, and then the Vampire Hunter, which was exciting because as far as archetypes go, that's like one that I would be pretty excited about. But like I said, sure, it'll be in store soon. Pick that up when that happens. So I was able to resist those, but I said, you know what, the starter set, they didn't have a starter set when the original Vaesen was released, as far as I know. Maybe somebody can correct me on that. It was 2021. I don't remember it. And the starter set had some components to it that makes it, like a lot of Free League starter sets, worth the purchase. And I will show you the unboxing of that in a second. I'm going to play the video of the unboxing. And you're probably wondering, why am I not just unboxing it now? Well, besides the fact that I already unboxed it, I'm going to show you a little bit of that unboxing. I tried making a video where I showed the whole unboxing, and there's just, I think, many parts, because I was seeing it for the first time, I could be more expeditious if I explain them, especially because we have some additional content in this video to cover. And so this you know what? Actually, I can just play it, I think, in the
my safety box cutter here.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you'll see as well, I don't get to the unboxing for quite a while. As I'm doing this unboxing here, I start talking about Solo Thursday's Child. And Thursday's Child is an actual 12, 13-page Free League supplement that is, it's an official supplement. However, it's not available in print. It's only available on DriveThruRPG because it is quite small. But again, it is like an official supplement. It's not Free League Workshop or anything. And it is a set of solo rules for Vaesen. And I think they're fine. It has a pretty good oracle in it, and it does about as best as you can do in terms of solo investigations. But it focuses a lot on the investigation part of things. And let me actually fast forward to when I actually open the box. Yes, I know. This was, as I was watching this, this was a rare time where I was like, well, come on, man. Why you like this? All right, so there's me reading off the back. Yeah, and then I'm lamenting the fact that the map in there was a map I already had. And then I can't get the box open, right? Oh yeah, we want to show you there. Look at that. Look at I've just taken the cellophane off. Um, and I'm looking through the solo Thursday's Child, which we could take a look at that as well. And there are parts of it that I really do appreciate. Like I said, it has a really good oracle. As far as how like how mysteries go in solo, that's always been a tough nut to crack. And so for that reason, I think it does just about as good as it can in that respect. But it does miss out on a lot of the things that I think make Vaesen special and really enjoyable. Because obviously, okay, like let's just say upfront that probably one of the things that makes Vaesen, or the thing most special, is just the art is so distinct. It's so one of a kind. It's so beautiful. But it's a really fun game, and it's a really fun game to play as a group, but it can be a little difficult to GM, especially if you're a GM that does not prep very well, as I think with any investigation. It is, in a sense, one of the more simplified Free League games. There's some initiative cards. And it is, like, I would say to divide Free League games into three categories. You have simple year zero games. So that's like Vaesen, Electric State. Some of them toe the line. Like I'm thinking about The Walking Dead, and Alien, Walking Dead. Those are kind of on the fence. The Great Dark is probably on the simpler side now. And then you have the more complex ones like Twilight 2000. And then you have this third category of games that don't use the year zero system. So like Symbaroum, Dragonbane, One Ring. And I think that sometimes if you are a person who likes crunch, you will be averse to the simpler year zero setups, especially ones that, again, part of the fun of a year zero game is putting together a dice pool. And so you have like your base dice, your skill dice, and any dice from like talents, and then you roll that and you're looking for sixes. Sixes are successes. And we'll go over all this stuff again, just so you don't think you're missing the explanations of any of this. But and so there are games like Electric State removes, I think, skills. So it's like even less that goes into that dice pool. And it's true that Vaesen, from a technical standpoint, is quite simplified. And in fact, it abstracts a lot of stuff into like things like resources, capital, ammunition. These are things that you could play it as more crunch, more bookkeeping, but it's also something where the mechanics exist to carry the story forward. But there is a lot of fun complexity to Vaesen when you think about like managing the entirety of your investigation operation. And to me, the headquarters mechanics, the clues like the one we have right here, the management of staff in the headquarters, personnel, establishing contacts, getting good like seconding good resources and stuff like that, and traveling. These are all things where it's perhaps not mechanical complexity, but it's complex world building. And I think when the solo rules, and again, I never want to be too hard on solo rules, official solo rules from Free League, because I just appreciate how they go out of their way to include solo rules in most of their games now, and how they're really getting quite sophisticated. I mean, the new solo alien rules are awesome, but it does, I will say, Thursday's Child, I think for a lot of people, left something to be desired in terms of, okay, what are we supposed to do outside of this investigation we're doing? Because it's supposed to be a journaling game where you journal and investigate a Vaesen, right? And you kind of narrow down which of the Vaesens it is. The system works okay. It doesn't always narrow down the right way. Anyways, as I'm looking at this, as I'm thinking about this, I start to think in this video here that you're seeing, this is like 6 minutes of a 45-minute video. I start to think about like what I would like in a solo supplement for Vaesen. And then I hit that point where I'm like, you know what? It's the weekend. And I was about to say the freaking weekend, but anytime I make reference to that song, I then have to think of R. Kelly as a human, and I have to stop myself. And I also have to stop myself explaining that every time now. Okay, so I was like, you know what? I can just make that. I'll make like a little supplement to go along with it, just like something for myself to help me out, and to give a better solo play for next time I do a solo playthrough of this game. Anyways, as you might imagine now, from this, it is like 4 days later, and after about 25 hours, I have a single lantern, which is a 15-page solo supplement that is available on DriveThruRPG. I promise I did not plan this, but once I got into it and once I started doing it and once I started having like some really cool ideas, I wanted to share it with others. I was just like, I'll put this out. And so it's good anyways because it's October, it's spooky season, and so I'm putting it on sale. Just be $2.99 for the rest of the month. So put the link below. You can pick this up if you like. I think that it does provide some really good guidance in terms of setting up a Vaesen solo session that includes some of the parts of the game that are outside of the investigation. Because in fact, truth be told, the investigation, like I said, the mechanics are just there to carry the story forward. To me, the investigation is the boat that sails down Old Man River, but the river is really great as well. And so I do want to take a look at that. But first, let me just in particular point out a few things about this starter set that are really cool. All right, just to make sure this doesn't all slip at the bottom of the box, I'm going to put these Boundless City core set tiles from 01. I am so excited for these. These are modular tiles. I just got them the other day, and those are going to be awesome. Anyways, all right, so in terms of the starter set, one of the interesting things that I didn't even notice about that Kickstarter was that it said there's a revised core rule book, and I was like, what? I didn't even notice that. And this Kickstarter was from last year, October 24th to November 2024. No, October 2024 to November 2024. And I was like, they revised the core rulebook, and I went on drive-through, and indeed they had. There's an updated file. I scoured this damn thing. Scoured it. And it updates. There's no mechanical update. There's no changes to the game. D6 dice pools, success on sixes, the fear system, society headquarter upgrades, it all remains intact. Basically, they changed the organization and the accessibility of the information. Rules that were scattered about are grouped together now. So like fear, critical injuries, defects, they're together. They have clear definitions. The preparation phase is now like definitive, the exact order of resource and equipment roles. There are threat examples. What else is there? The art direction, I would say, more consistent just in terms of layout. And they, I think they're aligning it to like the Free League conventions in terms of the stat blocks look like Free League stat blocks now, more open space. And there's also these sidebars that give cultural background information about the different folklore and cultural underpinnings of that. So it's cool, and that's the old rule book is like no longer in production. The revised ones are in stores now. But there was no like overhauls to the system. So if you have the old one, don't worry about that. Don't think there's any like new rules or guidelines or anything. But I think one of the things that I didn't notice the first pass I did, but I did the second time, was I thought that these were just like pre-gen character sheets, but in fact, these are the new character sheets. And that was one thing that I am still kind of like, I wonder why they did this. But the character sheet from the original book was profile, and you have the character sheet and the headquarters sheet. And maybe this makes it look easier, but I otherwise again it's the same information. I would say that there it used to have the, and I actually like this, where it puts in parentheses the attribute that's tied to each skill, and now it's sort of like in the column of it, and physical, mental. So that's fine. It did that with the character sheet as well as the headquarters sheet. So that's pretty much it as far as those updates. Oh yeah, here's a new one, and then the new headquarters sheet. Is that how you spell personnel? Do you spell personnel Personnell, or is it NN? Is it NN? I think my mother would say it's unbecoming to point out people's spelling errors. It is NNEL. Anyways, okay. So, first things first. This is one of the most stunning pieces of Vaesen art or any tabletop gaming art that I've ever seen. It is like the Castle Gillenkreuz, which is the headquarters. This isometric view is so perfect and so beautiful, and it really points out what is so special about the headquarters mechanic in the game. One of my favorite third-party supplements for Vaesen was this one, the Society Mansion. Let's see if I could see who it was by. Pablo Larenas. And I love this because it had all the improvements, how many development points you had to pay to develop them. But it just shows how, like at the beginning of the game, you have just the mansion. And then some parts you build, and some parts it's so big that you have to discover them. Like you will go through this house and suddenly find the forgotten gallery, the treasure chamber, the servant's chamber, the second floor pantry, of course, the shooting range, all of these different things. You'll discover them or build them. And then too, you can start to build around the grounds. So you could put like botanical garden, jetty, stables, kennel, chapel, and a local tavern. In addition to that, there are personnel and contacts. So contacts are people around town that you can develop relationships with, and personnel are people that you can hire to take care of the grounds. And it's not just aesthetic. They give you different advantages, improvements, make things easier, make things more available. And this is again, I think you can use a supplement like that, but drawing it yourself is really fun too, because you don't, like this one, you're not expected to draw this, but you could take a ruler and draw this, right? You could do AutoCAD, and it just is so fun to see that expand over time. Another thing that was included in here is the Codex Occultum, which is one of two things that you can give to players to kind of learn about. These are some of the handouts that you can One of them I thought said Man Alone on the top of it, or Malone. My darling Manfred. Oh. These are different things you just kind of hand out, but this is really cool. Every time that you encounter a Vaesen, you can say, here, check this out. You can read all about the history of this because this is what you found in like in the research files, right? This is so beautiful. It has the society's creeds right here. So that was a stretch goal, the Codex Occultum. Excellent distillation of Vaesen rules. Again, the starter set is great if you are a GM, even if you already have the core rule book. I just think starter sets always give the best rules to get people up and running. They're not going to give the finer points, so it's not necessarily good for exploring every which thing. There's not even, for instance, like headquarters rules in here or stuff like that. And so this is the whole point of it. These things are priced the way they are as an investment. They want you to get your foot in the door. And speaking of investments, as usual, the dice that come with this are nearly worth the price of admission. So let me explain a few things. All right, so right now, because of Prime Day, what is Prime Day? Like, why? I thought that this was Black Friday, and now I'm getting notifications. It's like, get ready for Prime Days. I'm like, why is it? What is October 8th? Like, what's going on? Anyways, right now, for only $15.19, you can get a set of the Vaesen dice. Normal price, though, is $20. Pretty cool. All right. However, if we look, these are the starter set dice that you get with this whole starter set for $30. But even so, you want dice on their own, that's $15. So it's like you'd already be spending $15, and for those $15, you would be getting the packet of dice, which is six dice for $15. So with this one, you're getting for $30, you're getting 10 dice. Now, Free League has made available in their new dice set for this game, they have now made 10 the standard, and those are $23.11. So for $30, give or take, because it's like priced in SEK, whatever that is, $30 for this whole set and 10 dice, 20 for 6 of them, or $30 for the dice, these two, the Codex Occultum, this map, these initiative cards, and the other thing that I think is awesome that they included in here is these little tasting menu sized handouts. I think there's 5 of them. Yeah. Hand these out to your players, and they're like these little cheat sheets. And again, do they have everything? Absolutely not. But pretty much 90% of what the player is going to do is on here. Skill test, helping, pushing, slow and fast actions, movement, attacking, dodging, parrying, conditions, fear. This is honestly, here's like the Vaesen GM screen. And as I always say, Free League has a real third panel problem when it comes to their GM screens, where it's like, okay, mystery step-by-step, XP questions, cool. Skills, of course, difficulty, fear. Yeah, these are great. Animals, okay, I could have looked that up, but sure, because, animals aren't in the game that often. Slow actions, good. Fast actions, good. Didn't really need that, right? Because it's like this is all about fitting the most stuff. So I didn't need a cave painting of a gazelle, but sure. Cover, good. Armor, great. Medical care, that's extremely helpful. And then always this third page. Like enchantments, maybe because there's so many different enchantments, but do I really need like explanations of the curses and the troll crafting? I don't know, man. It's the same thing with Dragonbane. I forgot what it was on page 3, but I was like, why? Why this? There's other things that'd be so much more helpful. Anyways, this is not included in the starter set. But what I was going to say is you're not... this is 90% of what a player is going to do, and this is also probably 80 to 90% of what's on there. And then, yes, you do get these initiative cards. I also have the initiative cards already, as I had one of the maps, and so that's you're definitely going to be seeing a future giveaway on this channel for a map and Vaesen initiative cards. But yeah, so the card set that they were selling has the initiative cards, which I think are so weird. Okay, so these dice are lighter than the old ones, and then these initiative cards are darker than the old ones. Anyone have any ideas? But in addition to the initiative cards, it also has like the Vaesen, which with the Codex Occultum, really you could just kind of pass that around now. So these initiative cards do most of what the card deck did. And these high quality guides with the rules, a little bit sparse as far as things go, but honestly, I would rather have a high quality, well put together thing than what you do get in some starter sets, which is just like a bunch of files. You know, it almost feels like someone just printed out a PDF or something. And so the intro adventure for this is The Haunting of Castle Gillenkreuz, which is this is a great choice for a starting adventure. It's a great choice. Oh, the core book revision also includes, I mean, I'm sorry, could they not have put like how to set up an investigation in the GM guide? You know what I mean? That maybe would have been more helpful than a cave painting of a gazelle rabbit. Anyways, maybe they need to hire some personnel to work on this. Personnel. P-E-R-S-O. Never mind. It's this is the older book, has these background tables, and then the new one has life path tables. I thought it was like a different system. I think it's just the same system. It's just here it's called background. And it's also called here a cheat sheet. But this one, it's a checklist. Anyways. Okay. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that, other than this, again, this intro adventure I think is better than the one that is in the core book because, first of all, it takes place in Castle Gillenkreuz, your headquarters, which I think is awesome. It's, again, for maybe the 9th time, it's one of my favorite parts of playing the game. And it also gives an idea of just like the vastness and how even when you are at home, you are still like amidst the strangeness. It's a huge place, and it also sets it up so that by the end of it, the player characters are like given the deed for it. They are maybe not the deed, but I forgot who's this woman's name. She's very, very beautiful. Linnea Alpha Clint. By the end of it, there is you are a caretaker of it, shall we say? All right. So, as I was going over all of this stuff, I was just again thinking about, and we'll take a quick look at Thursday's Child to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the solo Thursday's Child is the solo rules, and here it is in a nutshell. Create the opening of your mystery, start keeping a journal, and use the oracle table to generate events. Explore the area and look for clues. When playing solo, you are in charge. It is therefore important for you to create context that will make the game more enjoyable. Okay. So it gives basic instructions for yes and no, and that's where it introduces that this game, and this is not part of the core game, this game uses playing cards. And so red means yes, black means no. Since I have these handy, I'll use the cards for very, still can't decide how I feel about this game, Espers. Not a solo game, but has really interesting art, but just like no game. Anyways, so red means this is a really bad one, right? Because it's, I'm going to use my mini boys. All right. Then we have rules for whether an encounter is helpful or not, which I think is great. Cheat sheet for playing a mystery, and it does recommend journaling. Does give a lot of example journals. And it also then has several oracles that are the reason why, for my solo supplement I created, number one, I didn't include an oracle in there. And number two, I say that you really only need the core Vaesen core book to use my supplement, but I do recommend this one because it has some really good decision-making oracles, or context-provoking oracles. The decision-making one is fine, but it has this keyword oracle here that first roll, second roll, third roll, I think it does a pretty good job. And really, you can make a very elaborate oracular experience, or you can just use a set of words that are constructed in such a way that they provoke divergent thought, and you just need those words to be within the universe of that book, right? We just need an oracle that doesn't say like laser, that doesn't say 35th century or something. What an oracle outcome that would be. Some clues, another good one, D66. And then we have the 3 clue tables, which form the basis of the mechanic in this solo supplement. All right. And they want you to use the first 2 tables if you can. And if you can't figure things out with these 2 tables, then they'll say use this 3rd table. So here's how I can explain the usage of these tables as concisely as possible. All right, so this is how it's supposed to work. You have these clues, okay? And you get these clues through successful investigations, probably observation as well. And for each clue you generate, you record that clue. So I guess, all right, 51. A sack that appears to have been torn apart by some kind of animal. All right. And with this clue, right now, because that was the first clue I got in the game, you look at these and think to yourself like, okay, do any of these seem like something where a sack that appears to have been torn apart by some kind of animal? People are disappearing, children and adults are disappearing, someone is plagued by nightmares, people having trouble sleeping, fishermen are telling stories, someone's been murdered, people are found injured, livestock has gone missing. So these are things that this is very like it could be any of these, and it's also not exactly these either. Okay. As you generate more clues, you compare them across these tables, and some clues are going to be specific, and some clues are going to be vague, and some clues are going to point to one thing. And so eventually you're going to get enough of a pattern where you're like, oh, okay, so like enough of these fit across, and you do this through learning roles, all right, that as you learn successfully, you see how they connect, and eventually you'll have enough clues that conform to a row, and you'll be like, okay, given everything I know, given that this was like a burglary and it involved livestock or whatever, there are clues that align with certain Vaesen but not others. So really the way to think of it is a game of guess who. It's like, okay, was something damaged? Yes. All right. So anyone that doesn't damage property gets knocked down. Right. And you could even, I mean, honestly, you could put these cards out and flip them. And then it's like, all right, so it's probably either the giant, the myling, the sea serpent, Spurtus, Vaetir, right? And then it's like, okay, the next thing that happened was a large fire was set. All right, so that narrows it down even more. But we still don't know if it's Vaetir or the giant. And then it's like, and you know what? There is livestock are dead. And it's like, oh, okay. So now I know that it is the giant, because all three of these, this is the only one where the giant shows up, is the only one that shows up in all three of those situations. Ideally, it works that way. And it works that way often enough. But when you combine journaling with that, it gets tough, because if you really lean into the journaling, it stops being this simple. And if you don't lean into the journaling, then it becomes too elementary. And the reason for that, I think, is not as much because there's a fault in the system they've created, even though I do think there should be, you know, some of these are like getting the red-haired guy with glasses and Guess Who. That's the game, right? Guess Who, where you knock down the pictures. Because it's like, okay, does your guy have red hair? Yes. Like the giant is in so many of these. I think there should have been a better spread, and there should have been more possibilities. But it's good. It's fine. That's a preference. I would look at this often and be like, what is it that just doesn't come together here? And what I realized is, as usual, and we're gonna take a look at a journaling game tomorrow, and I think the danger of journaling games is when they lean too heavily on journaling. And I know that sounds absurd, but what that means is, sometimes journaling games use journaling just the right way. You're recording your observations, you're giving time to flesh out ideas, you're creating your world building. And sometimes the journaling is there to be like, make it work, make it make sense. And when you do that, again, it can feel a bit unsatisfying when you're like, okay, well, I kept this whole journal, but really, I just needed to get these clues and I could have been done with it. I understand that that's a choice in all journaling games. It's a choice in all games, right? Instead of playing Monopoly, I could just open up the box, set it up, take the dice, roll a 5 and go. In my version, anyone who rolls a 5 wins the whole game, right? I always have that option. So it's not really about that for me. It's more about like, are the incentives lined up correctly? Do I have the right carrot to keep going? And I think one of the issues, too heavily of a lean on the journaling and not enough other stuff going on. You know, in Solo Thursday's Child, it's just the investigation, right? Because we're never going to get what we want in solo play in terms of mystery. Now, I shouldn't say never, because this is something we talk about all the time, and I do feel like there is some sort of cosmic answer to this. But here's the thing. What we want is, like in a mystery, you want clue. All right, so let's pretend that this is an envelope and it's sealed. And we'll say that this, whatever this one is, let's say we had you know what? Actually, we'll use this because this will actually do it. All right, so I'm not looking. And I'm going to pick a Vaesen and I'm going to show it to you. And I don't know if that's upright or what. Hopefully that is one of them. And I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to seal that. All right. And now I'm going to, damn it. All right. I'll do that again. All right. This one. It doesn't really matter because I'm just, all right, there we go. So there is a specific Vaesen in here. It exists. There is a card. This is like a Schrodinger's Vaesen for me right now, right? And in an ideal mystery, I would gather clues until I said, I know who it is. I know it. I know it. I know it because I'm smart and I figured it out. And this is what BB and I were talking about this. She said, "What do you think makes a good mystery?" Here's my test. A good mystery is one where you feel like you've got it figured out because you're with it. You're staying with it the whole way. And then at the end, if you were right, you're proud of yourself. And if you were wrong, you still love it because it outsmarted you. And you're like, dang, what a good mystery. That totally subverted my expectations. Or you're like, oh, that was so fun. And of course I got it because I pay attention to things. I'm kind of quick. I'm clever. A bad mystery is where you guess and you're right. And there's no question about it. You're right. Like you're 100% right 10 minutes in. Or one where you have no clue the whole time. And then when it's revealed at the end, you don't care. Or one where you're absolutely right the whole time. And at the end they go, actually, it was some other thing. And you're like, oh, that's great. So basically like you just tricked me. Like not even an artful deception. You just lied to me using like camera tricks or something, you know? Those are bad mysteries because you're not with it. You need to be there. You need to be like on the precipice of being able to get it, and you might get it or not. But what happens in a solo game is I'm playing on my own, and so I don't know what that card is. How am I going to produce clues for it? You know, what if I said, oh, well, it turns out that it's giant and it's eating everything and the livestock are gone. And I go, of course, it's a giant. And I open it up and I have the will-o-wisp. And I go, oh, well, I guess I was wrong. Okay. And so I say all of that because until we crack the code on this, we have to realign where we get our jollies from mystery games as a solo player. Instead of having this card inside that envelope, we have a card that is like blank when we put it in, but then we, through what we discover through the clues we get, through everything, we create this so that when we bring it out at the end, yes, we knew that it was going to be Vetir, but it's because we converged on that. We populated that blank card with ideas and made it appear. So it's not the same feeling. It's a different feeling, but it can still be fun. I think what we should think about is when I was little, I might have told this story before, and if so, it's embarrassing. But when I was little, I remember I was opening a present, and it was a Nintendo game that was Sesame Street. They had a Sesame. It was one of the worst games ever. It had 4 games in it. I think one of them was like Big Bird was playing a circus. I don't know. I was so excited because it was the first game that was ever mine. It was my game. And my brother had opened up, I think it was Excite Bike. And I looked at my parents, and my dad pulled a candy bar out of his stocking. And he looks at my mom like, why did you get me this? And she's like, I just thought it'd be something fun. Like, I just got, just so you had something. And I remember feeling so sad because I was like, my parents didn't get anything from Santa. Like they didn't. And then I was like, when you're older, you don't get anything from Santa anymore. And I said this to my mom, and what she said to me, I remember for the rest of my life. She said, it's true. One day Santa doesn't bring you presents anymore, but he brings you something better. Is that when you have a family, you'll give I'm sure she said Santa gives presents, and you see how happy they are with their presents, and that's better than any presents you could have gotten. And even though God help me, I do love presents, but it's true. And so this is a present that you're giving. It's not one that you're getting. And it's a little bit weird because you're sort of giving it to yourself, but it's that kind of inversion. It's the same pasta. It's just a different sauce. All right. And so that said, I think that we could take this framework from Thursday's Child, and if we build it out a little bit and give us more to do, less will hinge on the satisfaction of that outcome. You know what I mean? It'll be like if all we're doing is journaling, it's like, because, as a solo player, I want to play the game. I don't want to play like an abridged version of the game. I understand I'm going to have to change the game. So this is where Single Lantern comes from. And yes, I need to stop doing this because I messed up my carpal tunnel syndrome again, even though I tried. If there's any embarrassing errors in there, it's because I do speech to text because my right hand is destroyed. But I put in a series of innovations that I think will help to, number one, scale the play, so that you can have a successful game with just a solo investigator. And this is the first time I ever used like a direct Microsoft Word template for that Free League gives out. It's kind of fun. The formatting was just, I forgot how like formatting in Microsoft Word goes, where if you go 2 centimeters over, like the whole document just vomits. But it did feel good to use this very fun Vaesen font. Please tell me this is hyperlinked. All right, so I did just put out an update to this. In case you're one of the first, I think 20 people that downloaded it, and again, it is $2.99. Or if you're a member, look in the Discord. There's a code for 99 cents. And I divided it into 3 sections, as you're probably able to see here, which is character creation changes, resource management, gameplay mechanics, headquarters, health, and survival. It's a bit modular in that you can implement any of these that balance the game for you. But the ones that are specifically optional, I noted as such, and the other ones I think will work in concert together well. So, for instance, this first part is just about making a character who can survive. General talent, you get an extra talent. This is becoming a trademark of mine. I did this on Outer Dark 2, kind of having starting with a little extra padding. And so you'll start with a padded vest, gives protection without reducing agility. And then Occam's razors, which is such a bad name for this that I just kept it. I wanted to make a Vaesen equivalent of Army of One that's in like Dragonbane and a couple of other games now, where you get 2 initiative cards. But I also developed a companion system that allows you to, those personnel and contacts that I talked about, I made a list of those, and the list should show like ones that I recommend that you can hire or narratively bring on as your companion. So you could have another person who has a small stat block. I talk about how to create a stat block for that. And essentially, here's the butler. In the core book, it's Elgot, but here Jorma Frisk is his nephew. And he can come out and adventure with you as long as he can convince his uncle Elgot to cover his shift. But just has some equipment, some traits, and then attributes. The way that it works in Vaesen is that there's 4 levels of attributes, and that determines how many like dice should be in the dice pool when they roll. So novice, I think, it's 4 to 5 dice you should be rolling every time when they do something alone, and then of course can use the helping mechanic as well. So I basically made 2 versions of this Occam's Razors, where in one of them, you start combat, and you do a check of an applicable skill. Whatever skill you can narratively imagine will give you the upper hand. So if you are trying to be sly and confusing, you can use manipulation. If you have info in advance, you could use investigation. If you are quick, right, you could use stealth or agility, whatever it is. If you succeed that roll, you get to pull 2 initiative cards and hit twice. If you don't, you could try it again as many times as you want, but it counts as your slow action. And so you can get in trouble pretty quickly if you don't do that. If you have a companion, we don't want you going home with nothing, but you'll have 2 initiative cards, and then you can choose which one to give to you and which one to give to your companion. And I also give the option here, if you're like, I don't like that, I just want 2 initiatives, you certainly can do that. The other one is, it's just that you shouldn't be in combat as much in Vaesen. You really shouldn't. You should be avoiding combat. But it's not always with Vaesen. Sometimes you have combat with animals or henchmen, whatever. You can also just have it where instead of doing that test or anything, as a normal routine, you could either take 2 initiative or draw 2 cards and pick whatever one you prefer in terms of your initiative cards. And then I also have edge mechanics, and these are sort of hyper-specific skills or situations. Whereas if I gave you +1 points in learning, every skill check would be a +1 that applies the learning skill. But with an edge mechanic, maybe it'll be like you get +1 learning if you're in a library. You know, and so it's more specific skill sets, and you can have up to 3 of those at a time. And you just, every in-game day, you get an edge. There's other stuff here, but then the whisper is more narrative. So obviously anybody who well, I guess not everybody, but most investigators have the sight, which is a mechanic in Vaesen that means you can see Vaesen. And so I just added the whisper, which is a part of the sight, and essentially this is a rumor making machine. You're hearing these whispers on the wind. And so some of them will be very specific. Some of them will be very vague, right? Well, I don't think any are very specific, but some of them are more vague than others, right? Something from your pocket will prove unexpectedly useful soon is not, I wouldn't call that specific, but it's more specific than trust the second option, not the first, which is even more specific than, what's the one that I really love? Oh, well, a gift offered freely should be accepted with caution. Okay, what does that mean? There's one that I wrote and I was like, I totally get this one, but it sounds so harsh. I think it's like, the next locked door you find is locked because of you. Which sounds so condemning, but actually it just means like whoever locked this is keeping you. Well, you decide what it means. I wanted to include some things like that so that to avoid stalling, right? This like stalling out that happens in solo play. When you're like, what am I supposed to do? Where do I lead? In the first edition, I gave step dice instructions. I left them here, but you know, I'm too much in Forbidden Lands headspace. Vaesen really already abstracts its resources a lot. And so truly the step dice would actually probably make things harder because in terms of ammo, for instance, the core book's like, oh yeah, you'll have to reload. Okay. But if you want a little bit more crunch, I think tracking resources like lanterns and ammo and stuff like that could be good. And also there is this problem of when you are creating your character, your resources are either going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if you have a team of people, that's okay because like you may have low resources, but that means you have higher in some other area, and then somebody else comes from an aristocratic family, so they have a 4. But in solo, it's like if you have kind of a crummy start, you have a crummy start. So I put in some options for like, we'll call them rich uncle options, resource boosts, putting things on layaway, giving a frugality bonus, and allowing you to advance your resources by using development points that you would normally upgrade your headquarters with. Added some stuff about getting windfalls, different things to just like give you more possibilities. The winds of change. This will be one of the last things because the video is getting a little long in the tooth, but the winds of change, I really was proud of this one. So I actually looked this up. There are no like named winds in the UK because it's just not enough land to get wind going. So there's no like Santa Anas, but there was the Helm wind apparently in Northern England. They used to talk about it, and it's not a named wind, but like the Vale wind is another thing. And so at the beginning of each day, you have a coin, and it's placed on Helm wind. And when you have what I call narrative serendipity, if you look at the bottom left, one of these moments that it just, wouldn't it be so great if this worked, right? You hate to have this moment where you think about like a climactic moment of a TV episode, and then you roll your dice and you fail. That is a real yuck feeling of solo play that happens often. Because think about it, with a group, you could try again. You can get help on a roll. You have a bunch of equipment, different stuff. Here, you're like, all right, now it's your turn, Buchanan. Nothing. Well, Buchanan, sorry about that. Good day, right? Now you could say, okay, yeah, that's how it goes in solo play. But I think when that feeling is there, you should employ the Helm wind. The Helm wind allows you to whatever skill you're using. So say that you have 2 attributes. in physique and I want to say Tzatziki, you have 3 dice for 2 dice for force and 3 for 2 dice for physique, 3 for force. You get to double your skills dice load, which is like not certain. And in fact, I predict right here, I'm not going to roll a single 6 if my on-camera dice rolling proves consistent. Yeah, so unless you are a total mush like me, but hey, I didn't roll a 6, but statistically speaking, often I would roll a 6 in that. At least it gives you more of a fighting chance to put that moment together. So regardless of the outcome of that, you flip into the Vaelwind. Now, the temptation from a design standpoint to be like, well, the Helmwind gave you an advantage at a good moment, so the Vaelwind should make it tough at a bad moment. Well, no, for 2 reasons. Number 1, that's not a good time. Who wants to like wait for a bad moment? 2, how do you know what a bad moment is? A bad moment is when you fail a dice roll. A bad moment is when something unfortunate happens to one of your characters. Bad is unfortunate. Like that roll right there, it's fine. I didn't get any 6s. It's fine. Now what happens, right? And so I didn't want people on the lookout for that. This should balance, not punish. And so all it means is for your next roll, you only get to try to change the wind after a roll. For the next roll, say you're like, oh, okay, another force roll. This is, an hour later in game time for something else. I'm trying to, the classic, Jorma's trying to push a boulder out of the way. So I'm like, okay, 2 for physique, 3 for force. I have to remove 1 because it is the Vaelwind is active. And there we go. Ah, darn, I failed. Well, at least now I get to try to roll the... I could try to get rid of the Vaelwind after I roll at a -1. So if you have a coin, you can spin it. For this, there's no really good way to do it. So, and boom, I got it back on the helm. So now it stays on the helm until I want to employ it again. If not, if it lands on the veil again, then it stays the veil. Next roll. Got to remove 1. Roll it again, regardless of... This is terrible. Regardless of the... Maybe I missed it before. Maybe because I wasn't looking for this. Anyways, probably not. Now I get to try this again, right? And I roll it again. Ah, darn, I'm still on the Vaelwind. And so hopefully that doesn't happen, 10 rolls in a row. It just removes 1 die, but it's a balance. And the reason for this is... some form of this I always do when I'm solo playing. I've shown in some episodes before that I do like a little bit of a tab. And it's because I used to play with guilt. And that was something that detracted from me playing. It would be a weird voice that's like, you're not playing right. You're doing too many favors for yourself. And so it's like, no, do a favor for yourself. This moment rules. You want an awesome outcome, do it. And you got to at least 1 dice roll. You got to take it away. And if you're having a really bad day and you keep rolling, Vaelwind, it's 1 die, right? You're paying it back. You're paying it back so that it's balanced. All right. And then I had this stupid little clever quip in here about self-flagellation. And then I realized there's literally self-flagellation tools on page 92 of the core book. So there's the wind. And then, here is sort of the upgrade changes. I just changed the system for how many upgrade points it takes. I made it so that you can pay development points to increase your resource level, put your money into savings, plus 1 more every time, so that if you want to, for instance, move your resource level from 3 to 4, you have to spend 4 development points, which is quite a bit, but it at least allows some social mobility. I changed some of the benefits that the different upgrades give in solo play, just so they're a little more solo friendly. You can use either one from the book or here, but not both. Yeah, a system of how to do threats, because in the core book it just says, hey GM, here's some threats you can do, and gives some like ideas, but I'm like, no, we don't want to decide what bad thing happens to us. So I made some threats. There are some that are internal and external, some that are corporeal, some that are spiritual, right? And so just some different ones that add a narrative effect. I added a TKO system so that you're not one hit dead. Some self-healing mechanics, survival aid, starting provisions if you want. And this was on companions. And then I did this one I like as well. Each week you get a headline from the Uppsala Gazette, which some of them, again, have specific things like, +1 to these kind of roles this week, but a lot of them are just kind of narrative stuff. Because you really do, in the core game, a lot of times the way that your adventure or investigation steps off is the classic, like, widow comes to you in the rain and says, I need you to find out why my husband's breeches are floating in the kitchen every night. Or you get an invitation from a mysterious benefactor that at dinner reveals to you that their family crest is being tarnished, whatever. It's hard to come up with things like that over and over again for yourself. And so the Whisper, using solo Thursday's Child to create the sparks for investigation in there as well. I think use this and the core book. Baby, you got yourself a stew. And then also I just added this one as kind of some backstories for companions and NPCs. A runaway monk haunted by the voice of his abbot who died years ago. I think in version 1 I put the voice of his robot. Anyways, again, link below. This is on drive-thru. It's for $2.99. It was an unplanned update. So, look, as with all of my stuff, if you like it and you got some extra scrap, get it. If it's not for you, that's cool too. Thanks for coming to hang out. I'm slowly rebuilding my OBS, so I'll be able to do the outro soon. Thank you to all channel subscribers. I'm about to hit 12,000. And also to all channel members, best friends, SEAL Team Waffle Alpha. The Discord is a rockin' and rollin'. Some great things happening there. Some really fun, really interesting stuff. So thank you all. And may your days be oh no.